Kids don't forget.
Kids don't forget.
You kids don't forget.
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 So Annie, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Khalid?
I'm good.
Good.
So what is the correct pronunciation of your name?
Annie.
So simple. Annie. And what have you gotten?
Anna. You could anything but Annie.
Now Annie is usually a nickname for like Annette or something like that. Your name is actually Annie.
Yes.
So for you to get something else, does that frustrate you or you don't care?
No, it's kind of funny. It used to make me frustrated, but it's funny.
Right. What were some of the nicknames you had growing up?
Ruthie, mostly Ruthie.
Who called you that?
Mostly family and close friends. Most people don't know my name is Annie Ruth, so
Okay.
that's why they call me Ruth.
Oh, your name's actually Annie Ruth.
Yes.
And then it came out of Ruthie. How would like close friends? How would they know your middle name? Would just you telling them over the years?
I guess hearing my family say it.
Okay. Okay. Now, where are you from?
Camden, New Jersey.
Camden, New Jersey. Do you claim a specific neighborhood?
Parkside mostly.
Parkside. Okay. How would you describe your neighborhood growing up?
It actually was nice. We had, early 90s, we had tree-lined streets and older people on the block. It was all right.
Okay. Okay. Now, was that the only neighborhood you spent time in, mostly Parkside?
East Camden, 32nd Street.
Okay.
Westville Avenue. Fairview a little bit.
Okay. Do you see like differences in the three neighborhoods and like between Fairview and Parkside and East Camden, or were they all the same pretty much?
I think Parkside might have been the nicest, and then maybe East Camden, the area where I used to hang.
Okay.
Fairview coming in last.
Okay.
At least the part I was hanging in.
Were you an only child?
No.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. I want you to imagine that you are, let's say, 15 years old. If you're 15, and you don't have to say their names, but list out your siblings.
At 15, there were only 2 siblings in the home.
Are you the oldest, or are
Yes.
you in the middle, or the youngest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. So at 15, how old are your siblings?
14, 13.
Sisters, brothers?
Sisters.
So you had 2 sisters. So no boys to worry about.
Not in our house, no.
Okay, got it. So 14 and 13. If you're 15, so you guys all kind of grew up together, tight knit group.
Yeah,
Okay,
very close.
you guys still close today?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So you got your 2 sisters that are kind of the same age as you. So if you're like in 5th grade, one's in 4th, one's in 3rd. Did you guys grow up with both parents?
No.
Okay, so I guess the first question I'll ask is, were you with either your mother or your father or neither?
Neither. My grandmother.
You're with your grandmother. What's your grandma's name, by the way?
Rosella.
So we would say, hey, Miss Rose.
She's not with us anymore.
Okay.
But yeah,
Condolences.
No, it's all good.
But growing up, we would say, how you doing, Miss Rosie?
Absolutely.
Or Miss Rose?
Everybody on the 1000 block of Princess Avenue knew Miss Rose.
Okay,
Yeah.
Miss Rose, right. Okay, and everybody would speak to her.
Yeah,
And she probably was the one. You know how like on the neighborhood is that one house that's like super clean, like she's always out sweeping up the sidewalk.
Would feed anybody on the block.
Right.
Knew everybody's business, but never left the house.
Okay.
One of those people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you just said that you grew up with your grandmom at your grandmom's house, you just covered. I'm gonna just throw out a percentage, like 40% of the hood, right? There's so many kids that from the hood they either. First of all, it's very rare. I'll say the most rarest situation in the hood, and you can agree or disagree, is probably a child that grew up with just their dad. I think that's probably the rarest.
I would agree.
And then second is, in my opinion, is kids who had both parents. Like I grew up with both my mom and my dad. That's extremely rare, but it's not as rare as somebody who's just with their dad. Then I would say that third category of I was raised by my grandmother or my aunt or my uncle, somebody other than your 2 parents, but in your family. Actually, I would say they're second. I say the third probably would be, there's a lot of foster kids in the neighborhood. So the kids who live in the
Yeah.
foster homes. Then I would say second is, or fourth is, the you raised by your grandmom, you live with your grandmom or your aunt, cousin or something like that. And then first would be kids who is just their mom,
I would
right?
agree, yeah.
Just your mom is like the most common, period. And then just your dad is the least common. But the kids who live with their grandmom, like a million.
That's true.
It's like 40, 50%.
Yeah, that's true, and it still happens now.
So the fact that you weren't with your parents, do you feel like looking back, or even then, that affected you?
I would say yes. There are certain things, a girl needs her mom for, and a girl needs her dad for, and I didn't have either of those.
Okay.
My grandma did the best she could, but I really
Right.
could have benefited from having my mom and my dad.
Now, the fact that you were the oldest, it made you kind of the mother of your two sisters?
Kinda. I helped out a lot.
Okay. Okay.
They didn't listen to me because we're so close in age.
Right. They're like, you're not the boss of me.
No, not at all. But, we did the best we could. Yeah.
Okay. Did you know your parents? You knew your mom and your dad?
Yes.
How would you describe your relationship with them?
Problematic.
Okay.
would be the best word, problematic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Care to elaborate a little bit? Let's talk about specifically just your mother and then specifically just your dad, your father.
Just my mother. When I was about 6 years old, she started using crack. So
you were 6 years old in the 80s.
Yeah.
Which
she
is like
started,
the height of the crack epidemic in the black
yeah,
community.
pretty much.
In
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Oh.
So once she started using, and I know this part just from over the years, going to NA meetings and stuff like that, she kept chasing, that high, and I guess that became the most important thing.
Okay.
So she wasn't available to us because she was off doing other stuff.
Okay.
Now, one thing I will say that was a positive thing at some point, and I'm eternally grateful to her for this. She realized she couldn't do it. She couldn't be a parent, and we deserved better.
Okay.
And then, we entered the foster care system that way. So I'm grateful for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with your dad?
Toxic for the most part, especially when I was younger. But I'll put it like this: he had been through a lot and didn't know how to be a parent.
Okay.
And consequently, things happened, and so for most of my childhood, he was incarcerated. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to the prison or the jail to visit him?
I was forced to when I was younger.
Okay.
When I was little.
What was
And
that
then,
experience like?
You kind of grit your teeth and bear it. And then once I got to be old enough and say, hey, I don't want to go.
Right.
Thankfully they didn't force me to go at that point. So that was kind of cool.
Okay. Okay.
I did visit him once as a late teen, like when I was in my late teens.
Right.
To get some closure.
Okay.
And I was grateful for that.
What was that experience like, that last closure experience? Like, did you go to the jail and just black out on him? Or?
I went in, I said what I had to say. But the weird part was, even though this man had not been around since I was, physically around, since I was, 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And even though this man should have earned my hate and not my respect.
Right.
Face to face, I respected him enough not to annihilate him,
Right.
So,
right.
I've always been fond of writing and stuff like that. So I wrote him a 10-page letter.
Really?
It was probably the most bipolar letter I've ever written.
I love you, I hate you.
Yeah,
in the same letter.
I hate you. I love you. He's just still my dad, but
Right.
And
so you wrote him a letter beforehand?
No. After this was maybe 2 or 3 years later.
Okay.
I started dating my fiance.
Okay.
And he was like, yo, you're never going to be able to really love anyone or really love yourself until you deal with the situation with your dad.
Right.
And I was like, you might be right.
Okay.
So I wrote him a letter, and honestly, I didn't think I was going to get a response. But, he responded.
He responded.
Like, I understand.
Okay.
And that was probably the best thing he could have said.
Right.
I understand. Yeah.
Okay. So you know who your parents were.
Absolutely.
And by the way, so when you were younger and you knew your mom was strung out, did you know where to look for her if you ever wanted to see her? Or was she disappear and just come back?
Not until I was about maybe 10 years old.
Okay.
And started really paying attention to, because when I was around 10, I wanted, there were certain things I wanted to talk to my mother about.
Okay.
And so I would try to seek her out. You know,
Okay.
so I knew she might be on 7th and Kane, or I knew she might be, you know, down on Stephen Street or something like that. So I kind of like started, you know, trying to find her.
Okay.
You know.
Did you ever find her any times?
I did.
You did? Okay.
And if I was lucky, she would be clear enough to speak to
I was
me
about
for
to
a
say,
couple
would she
minutes.
recognize you when you found her?
She always recognized me, and she would
Okay.
tell me to leave. You know, because I will say she never wanted us to see her like that.
Right. She probably
You know
was
what I'm
embarrassed
saying?
that you even
Yeah,
saw her. Right.
Yeah, she would be like, you know, Ruthie, now's not a good time. You know, I'll come see you at your grandma's house.
Okay.
You know, and you would be waiting, waiting,
Right.
and
You waiting for her at
So
grandma's.
yeah,
Like,
so
where is
after a
she?
while, I'm like, listen, Nancy will be around when she'll be around, and that's
Right.
that. You know,
Okay.
it is what it is. Yeah.
So you know who your parents are. You
Yeah.
know how they raised you or didn't raise you.
Right.
How would you? So my first question is: are you a parent today?
Yes.
How many beautiful
I have,
blessings do you have?
An 18-year-old son.
Okay.
And, I mean, a daughter. Oh, Lord. and my son is about to be 17 in March.
Oh wow! So
yeah,
the
yeah.
way you and your sisters were, that's how your kids are.
Yeah, they're
Interesting.
half apart. Yeah.
So now, you know how your parents raised you or lack thereof. You know how your grandmother raised you.
Right.
You know what their parenting styles were. How would you say that your parenting styles are similar or different from theirs?
Well, as far as my parents, I didn't know what good parents were.
Okay.
So I kind of approached it as like, I'm going to do the opposite of what they did.
Okay.
You know, like, I won't abandon my kids. I'll be there for them and stuff like that.
Okay.
My grandma was very big on, like, you know, discipline and I don't mean like so much physical discipline.
Okay.
But I mean like in your approach to everything, you should be disciplined kind of. So that kind of filtered over. You know, my kids aren't allowed to do certain things. You know, I always monitor, you know, the people they're with, the places they go, the things that they do.
Okay.
We're very close.
Even at this late teenage age,
my kids and
they're
I,
upperclassmen.
we're very close. Like,
Okay.
I know people say you shouldn't be friends with your kids.
Right.
But we really are friends. Do you understand what I'm
No,
saying?
I totally
Like,
understand. Because some people
yeah.
are like, yo, I'm not your friend, I'm the parent. Because sometimes kids get too familiar, so to speak.
No, honestly, I've been very, very blessed. Like, looking back on the things that I did when I was younger and some of the stuff that I probably put my grandmother through that I really shouldn't have.
Right.
I've never been touched by even a fraction of that. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really, really blessed as far as that's concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your parenting style is a direct reflection of how you grew up.
Absolutely.
With lack of parenting, basically, your grandmom did what she could, but she already had her kids, basically.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm going to be the complete opposite of what my parents were.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Okay. Is there a father in their lives?
Yes.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
You made sure of that.
You know, I got lucky, honestly.
Okay.
I really, really did get lucky. I got somebody who's family oriented and,
Okay.
you know, wanted to be there. Had a similar upbringing
Okay.
as far as our moms are concerned.
Okay.
You know, his dad was around, but not really around because he was in the military and stuff
Okay.
like that. So he wanted to be like a hands-on parent.
Got
you know?
it. Got it.
And so we kind of, like, we met in the middle and made it work.
Right.
You know. So
Okay.
yeah, it's cool. Yeah.